Social media, it's hard to navigate for everyone, right? But for the young, body image issues, violence, hypersexualised content, general nastiness, all cropping up on the feeds of young people. Our mates across the ditch have had enough, or at least they're saying they have. Australia is looking at how it could feasibly ban social media for young people, possibly until they're 16. How the ban will work is to be confirmed. Facial recognition, which seems extraordinary to me, is one of the options put forward. But many young people there, including our next guest, Leo Puglisi, who runs a young person's news website, SIXNewsAU. He founded it at 11, and it'd be tough to continue under such a ban. Leo, I really appreciate you joining us at what's the time there, Leo? 5:45?
Quarter to 6, yeah.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate you getting up. I should also say, Leo, because I see you're being interviewed on the BBC about exactly this, you're sitting exams at the moment. How did history go, Leo?
History went well. Got a few more, but none today, so able to get up early.
Okay, what was your history syllabus? What were you studying?
What was it? Chinese Revolution, consequences, up until Mao's death. So, it's a lot, but it gets there.
Yeah, well, go, Leo. Leo, just before we get on, so that people understand what a remarkable young person they are viewing, tell me about SIXNewsAU.
Yeah, so I founded it when I was 11, just as a YouTube channel, kind of as a passion thing when I was in year 6, so my final year of primary school at the time, and it's developed now to be a proper 24/7 streaming news channel with a team of young people around the country. And we don't just cover young people's news, of course. We are, a national news channel that covers that, and we've been able to grow to the point where we're able to interview, multiple prime ministers, break a lot of stories that are followed by the other national news after that. So, it's going well. It's in its 5th year now.
Yeah, congratulations. So you use the labour of young people, the enthusiasm, the joy, the brilliance of young people, which would mean presumably that you and those young people are exposed to the dark lunacy and feral toxicity of the internet. Have you experienced that on social media?
Yeah, definitely over the years. And look, especially when I was a bit younger, there was a lot of questions about that, and there were some conspiracies theories about it. Look, I personally just try to either block and mock and move on. But I know that's different for every person, right? A 15-year-old might react, you could say, better to a nasty comment than a 17-year-old might, which goes to the problem with a blanket ban.
So you are opposed to a blanket ban. Is there any age at which you think it is appropriate for the government to say no to social media access?
Well, I mean, the current age that platforms usually accept, right, is 13. Now, if there was stricter rules brought in to make sure that you don't have those 11 and 10-year-olds on, I'm not opposed to that, right? You probably shouldn't have a 10-year-old scrolling through TikTok constantly. But when we're talking about raising it to potentially 15, we're talking about people who are expected to act mature. 15-year-olds can get jobs here. They're a year off getting a learner's driver's license. And it's getting, a bit ridiculous considering how much we use it for communication. Look, you can say that social media wasn't there back in my day and this wasn't how it was when I grew up. Well, it is now, and we can't really avoid that reality.
How do we get this right, Leo? And my children are a bit older than you, so I've watched them grapple with it. And some of the images we're sending to young women in particular about how they ought to look, what their bodies ought to be like. There is a kind of grotesque and inappropriate constancy in this pressure. How the hell do we deal with that?
It's a good question. Look, I don't have all the answers, but the fact is that, look, unless there's something that hasn't been brought up yet, and as you say, the proposal's still being developed, all that content would still exist on these platforms. A 15-year-old might see it if we're banning, 14-year-olds and 13-year-olds. That content will still exist, and it can still have the exact same harmful consequences. This ban isn't taking that down. It isn't really working with the platforms. I think consultation with platforms like Twitter and Meta is really key at this time, but it'll still exist. And, I'm sure there'll be plenty of teens who'll bypass this ban if it comes into effect, and they will still see that harmful content.
I'm about to ask you an impossibly hard question to answer, and Leo, but it speaks of my respect for you. How the hell do you negotiate anything with Elon Musk? I mean, Twitter is now just feral city Arizona, isn't it? I mean, how do we persuade these people to behave in a rational, decent, illuminating way, the social media platforms?
As you say, it might be an impossible question. And look, the federal government here isn't exactly on best terms with both Twitter and Meta at the moment. But look, I'm sure the government can develop ways to do that. There's obviously the e-safety commissioner we have here. Whether you try and find these platforms, I'm not sure. But even apart from that, right now, the government and also our state governments could be doing, things like education for both young people and for their parents, because a lot of parents are digitally illiterate at the moment. So it's really important just to get that education from the outset so people just understand it a little bit better. That's something that could be done right now with or without a ban.
How do we persuade our teenagers? So your mates, Leo, what school do you go to, Leo?
I'm not gonna reveal my
school. Oh, no, good man, no,
TV.
Good. No, you're beautifully handled.
It is a government school, I'll say that.
Okay, so it's a state school. So I was just wanting to talk about your mates at school, right? But that's you protecting your privacy, right? Which is brilliant. How do we take care of your classmates so that they are not constantly being bombarded with messaging that may not always be helpful for them and may sometimes be profoundly unhelpful? The point you make is a very good one. The horse has already bolted. That stuff is everywhere. It is omnipresent. How do we get this balancing act right?
Yeah, and right, obviously you can try and work with these platforms, but I think on the point of education, right, we as young people often get, and from a pretty young age, like year 4, year 5, these kind of patronising seminars about social media, and it's taught by people, decades older than us, and we are just getting, I guess, talked down to a lot at that level. If you can explain to us on a basic level and not trying to be either cringe with the young people or anything like that, I think that really matters. If you just show that you care and you're able to present some of these dangers, you don't need a scare campaign. You can just really accurately present what's going on and the consequences of that. I don't think there's any real silver bullet here, but I just think the blanket ban is really impractical and can cause some harms as well for people who use social media for good and have had good experiences on it.
Leo Puglisi, we so appreciate you joining us this morning. I also, as a broadcaster, I've had 35 years in this business, Leo, and I can't tell you how much I've loved it and what a privilege it's been. So if that's your dream and your sense of vocation, I really wish you well. It's a remarkable start to your career to kick this off at the age of 11 and to be, having that platform. So go you, Leo.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Anytime.